Show. I'm your host, EPOLXMko. This is a live roadmap virtual event. We're right in the middle of our exclusive marketing track. And joining us right now is marketing audience lead, Ethan Johnson. So, Ethan, let's talk about something near and dear to both of our hearts. Tell us about the marketing function.
Absolutely. Before I start to talk about how we're organized and all the groups we have to work across, I think it's important to talk a bit about the culture, and Kathleen touched on that quite a bit in the keynote she just gave. And it's a culture that rewards working together, that rewards collaboration. The reason that's so important is if you look at the breadth of offerings that Microsoft has across consumer, across commercial, we have product managers that are largely responsible for working back with our engineering teams and making sure that we're able to communicate product value propositions. We have audience marketers like myself that are responsible for taking all those different product messages, putting them in context, and delivering them in a solution-oriented way for a given audience. And then we have our whole MarCom and our marketing operations team, which is responsible for pulling together the experiences that are going to resonate most. So things like this event, this experience that we have right now. So when you look at that complexity in terms of role, and then you think about a global organization, you think about the different subsidiaries, the U.S. business, you think about the folks that we have in market that actually sit in New York and Chicago and Austin, Texas, or Dallas. There's a lot of different, layers for us to connect. And so the collaboration, coordination, the culture has to go all the way through this to deliver a single brand experience for our customers.
And do you see being successful in connecting all of those different marketing opportunities? It sounds pretty complex.
It does have a lot of complexity to it, but at the end of the day, what we really strive to do and what the technology facilitates is a more entrepreneurial approach to the business. So while we're a really large, Microsoft is a really large company, a lot of marketers out there.
About to be even larger.
And about to be even larger as of Friday, exactly. We still function in many ways like small businesses do. So in some of the vignettes that we're going to run through, the stories that we're about to tell with different parts of our business, these are things that apply to smaller enterprises or smaller companies as well. But at the end of the day,
you get above a certain size, though. It doesn't really matter whether you're sort of 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 units.
Exactly, and it's still, you get to a kind of tipping point of complexity where you got to keep the train moving in the same direction. You got to make sure all the cards are attached.
Yeah. So why don't you set up? Do you want to talk about all of the demos, or do you just want to set up the first one?
Let me set the first one because I think it's really important. So we're going to walk through a little bit of the day in the life scenario. So the first demo that we're going to run through is a little bit about how we analyze the business and how we make rapid course corrections using intelligence, using Power BI for Office 365.
And I don't want me to be mean to Laura, who was one of our presenters in the earlier technology track, that she used the infamous Contoso. Now, tell us that this is a scenario. This is a Microsoft scenario.
It is. So this is a real life scenario. It's based off of, and I'll talk about it a little bit in the video, but it's based off of the launch of the Nokia Lumia 1020 back in the fall. Now, of course, because it's internal data, we have to strip out some of the sensitive stuff, but the story is accurate, and you're going to get a feel for exactly how we use business intelligence to run business and change campaigns.
All right, why don't we take a look?
Let's take a look. As a marketer at Microsoft, it's crucial that we have the most up-to-date data so that we can make the best decisions possible. We deal with huge volumes of data. What you're looking at here is an aggregation of a bunch of data tied to Windows Phone activations. So I'm going to tell you a story. This is a true story. This is tied to a back-to-school campaign that we ran back in early fall tied to the Nokia Lumia 1020. So first, a little bit about what you're looking at here. Behind the scenes, there's a ton of data. This is tracking over 1 million activations that happened within the first month of the campaign at the outset. The other thing that's important to note here is that this is living in regular Excel. This is supported by Power View, which is an add-in that's available to any Excel 2010 or 2013 user. And this is information that can be embedded in a PowerPoint presentation. It can be added to a SharePoint site. So it's ultimately consumable in whichever vehicle is appropriate for your audience. The other thing that's great about this is the level of interactivity. So what I'm looking at here on the top are activations by what are called DMAs. DMAs is an industry standard term for the markets across the United States. What I'm looking at down below are the share of activations for the different phone lines that we carry. You see the 8X it's the 1020, which is the phone that we were promoting. You see the 520 and the 521 in yellow across the board. So as we looked at the data, a few things popped out. First, the activations were really high in Los Angeles, which we would have expected. But we're not seeing the same activations in other really large markets like New York, like Chicago. The other thing that we noticed is we look down here, and this is a breakout of the different phones that we sell, is that the bulk of the activation is being driven by the Lumia 520, which was not a phone that we were actively promoting. But it was the 520 driving the activations in those markets, and this is where the fun really kicks in. So if I select the 520 button, what it's doing is automatically filtering the activation data by market down, and I can see, yes, LA, Dallas, Albuquerque, Phoenix, those markets were all being driven by the 520. So this is where taking the data and the organization and the insight and the intelligence of your teams is all got together. We had a meeting and we said, what's going on in these markets that's driving the sales of the 520? What we found out was that we actually had a Spanish language campaign running in the Southwest United States that was targeted at the entry-level 520 phone, and that Spanish language campaign was likely what was driving the sales. Just for the heck of it, let's look at what happened with the 1020, and we see a much more consistent spread across all the markets, and we see New York and LA are a lot more in line with what we would have expected relative to one another. So we knew something was going on. So from here, we wanted to be able to flip the script a little bit. So we ran a pilot campaign in a couple other markets to see if we could take advantage of what worked so well in the Southwest with the 520 line. So here's where it gets really fun. I'm going to flip over to a map. So when we layer this data on a map, we're able to get some additional insights and kind of see it happen in real time. This is the activation as it started, but this is kind of boring and static. Although if I wanted to, I can navigate around a little bit. I can change the perspective. If I didn't like the heat map, I can change the view to something more like a bar chart. But I'm going to stick with the heat map because that tells me a little bit more. You also notice I have this play tour button at the top, so I'm going to go ahead and press that. What this is doing is this is putting the campaign in motion. This is starting with the back to school campaign, all activations. Here, we're testing our new campaign in the secondary markets around Spanish language. And we like the results. We see that the colors are flying. And then here, we went ahead and ran it national. So it just took a couple minutes to go through this, but what we were able to do was to take a huge volume of data, put it in a format that allowed us to make quicker, faster decisions, and ultimately take a limited marketing budget, a limited advertising budget, flip it around, and maximize the return on our marketing investment. And for a marketer to be able to make fast decisions like that, that's cool.
So what I loved about that, and whilst we were watching it, you said something that really resonated with me. Marketers are visual creatures, and I've said it already. When I look at an Excel, I don't have that finance skill to look into the matrix and just sort of see stuff. This really helps visualize things and drive insight into the data. But this is only as good as how quickly you can get access to it. Did you have to go and engage some expensive consultancy to go and make that happen?
No. This is the beautiful thing about Power BI. It's the beautiful thing about the ease of access to the data is it's there. There was no developer resources to build that out. No developer resources. It's within marketing. We had the data set. There's familiarity with the data, of course, but the visualization, the ability to bring in the objects into that pane, and to basically construct this whole setup in a way that makes sense and is simplified, takes really, really complex data sets and makes it simplified and interactive, it makes the difference. It allows us to go into a meeting and chunk a lot of the context setting that you typically have to do when you're dealing with big data sets and get right to the
One of the other things that I noticed in the video was that you were using one of those beautiful 82-inch receptive pixel devices, one of my favorite acquisitions I've made over the last couple of years. It's actually, as an aside, I actually have one of the 55s in my office. It's replaced the whiteboard. Yeah. And now when I go into a meeting room that doesn't have a PPI, I'm really frustrated. But not everybody has a 55 or an 82-inch receptive pixel. How much are you relying on that? And if you were just on a Surface device or a regular PC, would you be able to do that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And the perceptive pixel is a big Windows 8 machine, 8.1 machine now. And
well, it's the largest capacitive multi-touch display.
You got it, exactly. And so the experience that I have on the PPI, which again I love playing with, is identical it scaled down the experience I have on my service. And so we're really working to bring that same interactivity across device, across platform.
Got it. Now, let's shift gears. I know we have 2 more vignettes. What's the next one about?
So for the next vignette, I want to kind of take us back to my description of the organization and how broad we are. One thing that every organization needs to do is planning. Need to do campaign planning. You want to get feedback from your field sellers on content that resonates. You want to get feedback from your field marketers on engines or tactics that are working and that aren't working. And we're in a continuous mode of planning to make sure that we're always keeping the freshest content and the freshest experiences in market. So the next vignette you're going to run through is a real-life scenario around how we use some of our internal tools to work across teams.
All right, check it out.
Let's do it. Working together to build strong marketing plans is the most important thing we do. Whether you're a small company or you're like the US subsidiary of Microsoft, a $26 billion business with connections to our worldwide product teams, with connections to our field marketing teams and our sales teams, building really strong messages and connecting all the expertise in your organization together are critical to making plans that are going to really resonate with your customers. I'm going to run through a couple of scenarios here. I'm going to talk about how we use OneNote to build out strong marketing plans and to keep track of what we've done over time. And I'm going to talk about how we use Yammer to manage content so that we don't waste material. I've been working with a colleague of mine, Jeff Marco. And I see that Jeff is available. He's online. We have a deadline tomorrow. Our marketing plan is due, and there's just a couple last things we need to be able to knock out. So I'm going to give Jeff a call, and we're going to talk through the last few things we need to cover on the plan. There you go. I see that we're dialing. And Link tells me that we're connected. Hi, Jeff. You there?
Hey, Ethan. How's it going?
Oh, doing great. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Just catching up on episode of Game of Thrones I missed this week.
Oh, no kidding. Are you home?
No, they got me traveling on the East Coast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I see your hotel room there. Nice view.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Oh, cool. Well, hey, I just want to run through that marketing plan real quick. Can you open up the OneNote?
Yeah, pull it right up here.
So what I'm doing here, I'm opening a OneNote. Because I have this saved on SharePoint Online, we're able to both work together and see each other's updates. And I have a bunch of history here. I've got plans going back to last year, the year before, so we can see what worked, what didn't. And I also know who made the edits, when, and where, so that if there's a question about a particular insight, I can go back and ask that person. So Jeff and we're going to work a little bit on this plan. Hey, Jeff, first off, you see the all-up plan here. Covered a bunch of components here, but I want to make sure that we're getting really, really clear on the pipeline sources. Can you take a look at that a little bit later on?
Yeah, no worries.
Great. And I also look down here. We've got this two-customer story over here. There's some good stuff there, but I don't think it's quite popping. So can you take a look at that and make sure that it's really resonating?
Yeah, great.
Great. And I was looking back at the plan from this time last year, and we were missing something really important, and that was the customer research. I know you were doing some work on this. Do you have the latest customer research available?
Yeah, let me go pull that from our team SharePoint site, and I'll drop it in here at the top.
Oh, there it is. See, I can tell that Jeff added it because we always tag everything with presence. That way, if there's a piece of content in the OneNote, we're able to go back to the source and ask any questions that may pop up. Hey, Jeff, one more thing. I want to be able to go through and run through that master deck, the story that we've been writing, that pitch deck.
Is that the one you put into Yammer there?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So if you can go to the content share, we've got a team of people that have been all working together to build out this master pitch deck. So as you go down, I've got a bunch of history here. I've got feedback from our field sellers. And the finished product is right here. That's the marketing BDM conversation story. Jeff, I see you put a note in there that we misspelled marketing. Thanks for catching that.
Yeah.
I want to take one last look at it here. Anything else that you want to highlight?
No, I was just looking at that here, and it seems like the blue might be a little bit off on the template. I'll put a note in there for the designer.
What I love about Yammer, what I love about this piece of it, is I can go through and I can take a look at our content without having to open up PowerPoint. It's all right there. It's self-contained. I don't have extra windows open on my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And as I kind of go through here and I look back at our history, Jeff's going to put his comment in there. And, oh, there's a reply. Blue appears to be off to me in the template. Is anyone else seeing this? That's attached to that document, to that content all the way through. So this allows us to really capture field feedback and to be very clean on where the document went. Hey, Jeff, thanks a lot for your help. I know it's late there. I'm going to let you get back to Game of Thrones.
No worries. Thanks so much. Let me know if you need anything else.
Sure thing. I'll talk to you later. There you just saw a little piece of how we work together using OneNote, using Yammer to build out really strong marketing plans.
One of the things that we highlighted in the earlier conversation was around PPI. Not everybody has a great big perceptive pixel device. You showed OneNote in there, and OneNote for me is like the sleeper in the Microsoft Office suite.
Yeah.
And we've made some announcements recently around how that's going across platforms. How do you think about the applicability of these tools outside of a Windows environment?
Well, and that's the fantastic thing about this story I just went through. Link is available on iPhone, Android. The announcement of Office and iPad, exactly. So when you look at all the experiences that we just ran through in that vignette, or in that story, which was very well acted, I might say, when you look at yeah, exactly. When you look at the scenarios we went through, that's a cross-platform scenario. That's really geared towards working around mapping to the way that marketers and sellers work. But the takeaway there is we need to create these experiences or these forums where the creativity can really come out. We didn't go through any of the formal marketing planning tools, and we do have those formal marketing planning tools behind the scenes. But we still need to collaborate in between putting that formal marketing plan in motion and being able to adjust real time. And so the scenarios we just ran through really address a lot of those forums where we can create this kind of really creative, working group, this creative collaboration experience.
Although I have to say it was a little bit scary because having just 2 days ago gone through our MBR, and for those not up on the Microsoft nomenclature, MBR stands for Monthly Business Review.
Right.
They are real, and that is what our OneNote does actually look like. This was not like a contrived situation.
Nothing gets lost.
Yeah, a little bit scary. I thought I had another month to go.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the third one. What have you got for us?
So the last one that we're going to run through is a little more forward-looking. It's a little bit about what's possible to really customize these experiences. So we're going to run through something called the Sales Productivity Solution. A little bit of a misnomer because there's a lot of marketing capability in there, but the net of it is we really need to be able to stitch together all the different tools that we use, make them more accessible, and deal with the discoverability problem. And that is you have a bunch of assets, you need to be able to find them, you need to know their most current assets. And we also need to be able to deal with a user experience that says, look, I want to use this, I want to go and engage, I want to touch, and have it all in a single place. So I think you're going to like what you see.
All right, let's check out the Sales Productivity Solution.
As a marketer, I have a few major capabilities. I'm responsible for awareness, I'm responsible for driving demand, and I'm responsible for helping sellers close deals through velocity plays. And in order to do those things, I have to access a bunch of different tools internally. I have to access databases that track our events, our scheduled events. I have to access CRM to understand what deals are working, both in terms of understanding the pipeline that I'm helping to build and also helping understand where I can help sellers close deals. And on top of that, I need to be able to author content. I need to be able to engage socially. I need to be able to do a bunch of things and a lot of different tools. Well, that's why we built the Sales Productivity Solution, and that's what you see behind me. Now, this isn't really what I use because I can't show you our internal company data, but it's the exact same user experience. And the Sales Productivity tool is built on Office 365, and it basically pulls together CRM, it pulls together our events database, it pulls together our marketing planning tools, and it presents it back to me in a really fun visual experience that I want to engage with, that I want to play with, and it keeps me coming back. So let's talk about how this is organized a little bit. It starts over here on the left with pipeline. What does our deal structure look like? What's our committed revenue look like? We have win-loss analysis so we can figure out what's been resonating and what hasn't so we can course correct the next time around. We've got our scorecard metrics, our accountability to the business, our accountability to shareholders, because we can't lose sight of what we're returning back to the market, back to our shareholders. I spend most of my time in the marketing and advertising component, so that's where I'm going to spend most of my time over the next few minutes. But I also want to highlight that we bring in a couple other things as well. We bring in some resources that are helpful for me to be able to get trained up and to stay up to date on products and to stay up to date on my skills training. And then we have applications that I use most often, like Outlook, like Skype, like Yammer and Dynamics. But I want to start with pipeline. So in this scenario, I'm trying to help our sellers close deals by creating really cool experiences for our target prospects, our target customers. So I'm going to dive into the top deals. And so what I see here is are the top 10 deals that we're working on right now. There's 67 deals in pipe total, but I see that there's a really, really big one there with Global Sporting Goods. So what if I want to take a look at the actual opportunities themselves? I just swipe over, just like that, and here's the detail, a little bit more detail about the account. I see that the deal was due in January, so it's overdue, and it's still 40%. I kind of want to know what's going on with this $11.2 million forecasted deal so that I can help the sales rep close it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the ID, and it's bringing me right into CRM. And what I see in this screen is I see the overall history of the account, I see the contact, I see a little bit about what they're trying to solve for, and because this is connected back to Yammer, I can see all the interactions that have happened with the account team or with the pursuit team to try and build such a great experience for this account. So based on this information, I'm going to know who to work with to drive velocity and to help win this deal. Kind of going back a bit, spend a little bit of time on the marketing page. Again, this is where I spend most of my time. Keeping track of all the events that we have coming up, keeping track of my calendar, and knowing when we're putting marketing events out there is a real big challenge, especially with the number of events that we do. So that's why we pulled all together in a single experience through this marketing and advertising panel. So in this scenario, I know I'm going to be in the Southwest next month. So I've got it already filtered on Southwest District, and what it's showing me here are all the events that are coming up in the Southwest in the next month. As I look through this list, I think the ALM Symposium looks interesting to me. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that button, and here I have the overview of the ALM Symposium. As I go through, I can see a little bit about the event. I see the creative that we put out there. I see that it's happening in La Jolla. And then I see the abstract about the event, a little bit about what we're going to cover. If I want to book my hotel, I know where the event's happening, so I have a really good idea where I should go ahead and book my lodging. So little things like this, tying these experiences together in a single panel, help me find ways to engage with customers. Another thing I have here is the commercial advertising component. Now, we always want to make sure that our brand is consistent across the board and that we're highlighting themes that are out in market in our general advertising campaign. So say I'm going to build a bomb, I'm going to build a presentation, or I want to engage in social and I want to reference back to some campaigns. I can select this commercial advertising button, and it's going to bring up an overview of our campaign. So this tells me a little bit about what we're focusing on. We're very big on our cloud message right now, and I see the different components of the cloud campaign, the insights, the productivity, the social story. So what I'm going to be able to do with this view is tuck into, say, the productivity view and make sure that messaging really resonates with the content that I'm trying to build. The next thing I'm going to share here is the customer reference panel. We want to make sure that we're telling great customer stories. So how do I request a customer reference if I want to be able to run a round table and have voice of customer really resonate there? I can do that through this tool. If I have an awesome customer story, I can nominate a customer through this tool. Again, these are resources that are available, and it used to be a case of me going into the internet and typing in the value and finding it. Now it's all in a single place. It's just little simple stuff that makes it easier to get my job done. The last thing I'm going to show you is the Marketing Prospects tab. This is a lot of fun because what we do is we keep track of our nurture contacts of the prospects that we've been engaging with, and we want to make sure that we're continuing to work with them. In many cases, we want our sellers to be instead of doing a broad campaign, we'll drive that connection seller to customer, seller to prospect. So as I look at this, I see that each of these prospects is tied to a given advertising campaign. That's all being driven by our back office marketing tool or marketing automation tool. But in this case, I want to take a look at the prospects that we have for active transport. And there I have a list of prospects. Now, I'm showing you the Perceptive Pixel, and I do most of my work on a laptop. But because I spend a lot of time on the road, I also do a lot of work on my phone. And that's why we have the sales productivity solution for the phone as well. Everything I've just shown you, it translates to the mobile device. So I've got my marketing and advertising, I've got my seller resources, my pipeline information, all the information that I need on the big form factor is available on the small form factor. So say I want to go and engage with my marketing prospects. I just click the button. It's bringing up the very same marketing prospects that we looked at on the big board. and I'm going to take a look at active transport, and I see Jamie Gooden's there, and I want to go ahead and work with Jamie Gooden. I'm going to go ahead and hold down, and I can email Jamie right from the phone. What we're doing here is we're really making these tools available to us in the form factors I use, and the solutions are working the way I want to work. And that's very important for us. We have 3 generations of marketers working at Microsoft right now. We have millennials, we have Gen X, we've got baby boomers that are still working, and we need to be able to build our tools out in such a way that we can work the way we want to work. It's important for retaining the workforce, and it's important for making marketers happy, and honestly, it's one of the reasons I love working at Microsoft.
Right. One of the things that I want to clear up before, any concerned viewers, you said you were going to build a bomb and have one. What does that mean?
Yeah, build materials. So all
right.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I'm not BOM.
Right. So
Right.
Some good Microsoft nomenclature. Good call. Now, tell me what life was like before we had that sales project. Sorry.
So life was, I spent a lot more time looking for the stuff I needed. Let's put it that way. And I didn't always know if what I found was up to date or not, because we're going right to the curated resources. We're able to be a lot more confident in our campaigns. And the fact that I can do this on the phone, the fact that I can approve a campaign brief mobile if I happen to be on the road, just makes a huge difference and allows us to get to market much quicker.
Great. Well, Ethan, thanks so much for going into the MTC and recording those really, really great videos.
I'm happy to do it.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from Zakia Ovington, who's a marketing technology specialist next. But first, let's see a quick video on how the PGA Tour used Microsoft Dynamics marketing.
I'm not sure that we've ever had a more exciting time at the PGA Tour than we have right now, playing over 100 tournaments a year around the world. We're in over 225 countries and territories. We passed through 945 million households. Our telecasts are broadcast in 23 different languages. Brand marketing team at the PGA Tour has a lot of responsibilities within our organization. It starts with strategic marketing for us, and it leads all the way through to development of our advertising. There's so many different ways to consume advertising promotions. We knew we needed one system to house all of our media assets. What we liked about Microsoft Dynamics Marketing was we could take the creative side, the media side, and the drafting side, and house them all under one roof. Our partners have certainly noticed the difference. We're becoming more transparent. It's become more important for our partners to see the value of our promotion. A tool like Dynamics Marketing, we see as something that's really flexible for us. So we're excited about it.
Welcome back to the live show. We are live from Microsoft Production Studios in Redmond, Washington. I'm your host, Alex Brennan. We're about to begin our final live session of the day. But first, we'd like to start with a poll. How many marketing tools do you interact with in your typical day? Why don't you hit up the poll link just down below? And we've got a few different choices ranging from 0 to 3 to 15 plus. And when you were thinking about what Ethan was saying before, he was using multiple different tools. We consolidated into that sales productivity scenario. So please take a second and let us know the answer to that poll, and we'll feed that back later in the session. But first, now I've got a special guest to share 2 informative demos on campaign planning and social listening. Please welcome marketing technologist Zakia Ovington to the show. Zakia, welcome. So let's start off with focusing on what is a unified customer experience? Why is it?
Great question. Customer, when we offer our product as a customer, we offer our products and services. We are making a brand promise, right? That brand promise actually translates to a customer promise. And what happens when we're not able to provide our customers with that consistent experience across all the different channels, whether it's email marketing, whether it is events, whether it is banner ads, doesn't matter. Whatever channel a marketer does, if that customer experience does not remain consistent, then you break the brand promise. Very similar to what Kathleen said earlier about all the different silos that just don't talk to each other. The customer has that same fragmented experience.
And how do you see companies delivering brand promise?
As Kathleen and Eve mentioned earlier, it's very, very difficult. Difficult because it's so complex. You have so many different silos of information, data. Oh, people aren't talking to each other. Similar example, as Ethan mentioned earlier, being able to make that decision on that Lumia 1020 campaign, you could not make that if your events are in separate silos, and your campaigns from your email marketing, all of them remain in different silos, which happens today. It is impossible to actually deliver on that unified customer experience.
Now, you're going to talk to us about campaign planning and social listening, is that right?
Yes, I am.
All right, what are we going to kick off?
We will start with campaign planning. So I've been with Microsoft 11 years. Of those 11 years, 9 of them was in marketing, was CMO. And I was in Windows XP, Vista, and Windows 7 marketing manager for mid-market. $9 million budget. The budget was managed in an Excel spreadsheet that was 10 tabs deep with multiple people working on it. If I bumped into our VP in the elevator and said, "Vicky, how's your campaign going?" I'd be like, let me give me 2 days. I will have to reach out to the agencies I'm working with, all the vendors. So I never really had a pulse on what my campaign was.
It's not a real-time pulse.
Not a real-time pulse. I could give a fictitious number, guess the name. So what I want to do is really walk you through an experience I had. I'm a technology specialist now, focused on Dynamics CRM and Dynamics marketing. And once a year, we have this huge event called Convergence. Convergence takes place, and I'm going to walk you through a scenario where I'm going to invite my customers to come to this event. Now, this event is also my campaign. My campaign has multiple channels. I have the event, but I have an email that goes out to the customers inviting them. I have a website that invites them to that.
Streaming the keynote.
Exactly. I have a social media, channel that's actually talking to those customers. So I'm actually going to build out a campaign in the next 5 minutes and then activate it, and the system's going to just do it for you.
Well, I love the scenario because, again, it's not just some fictitious thing. We all run events, and this is actually a real event and a huge investment for Microsoft, so it's important to get.
Multi-million-dollar investment. So what you're seeing here is Dynamics marketing. And you mentioned earlier that marketers are visual creatures. We are. So what Microsoft has done is, rather than give you a text-based way of building out a campaign, we have a designer. That whiteboard that you talked about earlier, we actually have a whiteboard board that you can drag and drop. So what I have here is, these are my channels. So here are all of my channels, my email, my landing pages, my social media, my print events. And right below that is my marketing list. So today, if you had to get a marketing list, you had to call your IT department and get a business analyst who needs to go and pull this list. It'll take you about 2 weeks, but I'm going to show you how to do it in a few minutes. Okay, actually. And then we have response, which is a scheduler that allows you to wait. So based on behavior, it's your wait clause and a trigger that says, hey, if the customer does this, then do this. So what a clause.
And this is just some, funky screen technology.
Yeah, I'm a technology specialist, and pointing is not my thing. Okay, so first thing you do before you start any type of campaign is determine who you want to campaign to. So for example, in this case, I've already gone ahead and selected my list, which is my VIP customers. But it's so super easy to create your list. So what I'm going to do is go and pull a marketing list, drag and drop it. So I want to add more people to the list. Now I'm going to define that marketing list by double-clicking on it, and now I have a list of existing customers, the existing list.
So this is a campaign planning tool, but it's linked in because of the benefits of the platform, based on Microsoft Dynamics into the CRM system.
Exactly. So you're getting data coming from CRM. It could be from third-party list vendors. It could be data API. I can go into more technical, but really all the data is coming right in here in a master database that only certain people have access to. So not everyone's going to be able to send emails.
So you're importantly breaking down some of those silos.
Exactly. So then I'm going to build out a marketing list for you. So I don't want any of these because I want my own. So I click on new and just say Roadshow.
So what were the templates that you decided not to use, and why are you building one of your own?
Well, I want to show you how easy it is.
Okay.
Because as marketers, we rely a lot on business analysts, but often we just want to do it ourselves. So pretty easy.
Macro and Excel.
So for example, what do you want to query? I want to query my contacts, and in my contacts, I want it so that people who said yes to marketing, there it is. People who said yes to marketing, I want to pull that list. So as easy, as simple as that. No longer do you have to wait 2 weeks for a business analyst to provide that information for you. You have it. So,
Assuming you have permissions.
which is very important, especially in this world of privacy. not show list, I'm just going to go ahead, select, and add it. So as simple as that, now I have two different marketing lists associated. Now that you've picked your customers, you want to send that email invite. Again, all I have to do is drag and drop that email right in. For the purposes of this demo, I've gone ahead and built one out for us. So again, I go ahead and edit, and then it gives you the email designer. More often than not, when you're going to get copy from agency, you can drag and drop that copy right in here.
And I presume you can build something pretty beautiful, using tables, HTML, whatever it might be.
Exactly. So right here, I'll drop it in and I have a website. I'm actually sending the customer to the website or a landing page. So to do that, all I need to do is drag and drop that landing page right in here. I've gone ahead and done that for us already. And I'm going to show you very quickly what that landing page might look like. So this is just a sample. And I'm doing this just by dragging and dropping. There is no code. I'm not coding any of this. So here's that conversions landing page. Here are all those fields that your customers are going to populate as they register, which is now going to show up in real time right into Dynamics Marketing.
I presume you can add in analytics around, rates, click-throughs, things like that.
Absolutely. Do you see this? So once this campaign is active and is sent out, that email is sent out, in real time, data comes in, and right here from the design console, you basically get to see who did
So you can run those reports by yourself without having to rely on anyone else.
Without relying on anyone else. Automated. It's an automated campaign. So I'm just going to go ahead and build these campaign out. I'm going to pull up a trigger. The trigger basically says, hey, the customer registered, send them a registration confirmation. If not, wait 3 days, set up a scheduler, drag and drop that scheduler right in there. And then I'm just going ahead and building that
Just that campaign workflow.
It is. It is your whiteboard building it out. And more often than not, what happens is marketers I've seen just build it out in small icons, drag and drop it, and then go at the back end and
use Visio to do sort of the charting, or even PowerPoint.
or you can do it right in here, and when you're ready, you basically activate it, and Microsoft sends those emails out. The website provisions. Everything just happens in real time.
Wow.
No, pretty helpful. So now you have gone ahead and so all that reporting is coming in. You also have the ability to have that report available, very similar to what Ethan mentioned earlier. One of those great Power BI charts. So from here, let's actually jump to campaign is in market now. You want to know what's happening in the social channels, right?
So we're shifting gears now.
Shifting gears. So you've built out your campaigns, you send it out, and now what you have is you want to get a pulse of your
Maybe after the convergence, see what's
do rate. Or do rate.
we're doing, right? We're on
talking about it.
So through personal experience during the Office for iPad launch, I wanted to see what people were talking about on Twitter, and we were doing the sentiment analysis and all of that sort of stuff.
Exactly. This is that
Yeah.
sentiment and social. You're listening and you're analyzing what is happening in social channels. Simple example, I was on an American Airlines flight. I had a very bad experience. I very quickly used Twitter, let them know I was having a bad experience within seconds, not even minutes. Seconds I had a response back. Now all of you know how wonderful American Airlines is. So
They've rectified
my problem.
situation. But no, I can resonate with that because it makes it much more personal, and they're reacting and resolving a problem that you had.
So what you're seeing here now is Microsoft Social Listening. This is where you get that sentiment, where you get the pulse of what's happening in social media. So what I have here is all of the campaigns that I am responsible for. So I have several. I have an Office 365 campaign, a Cortana campaign. I want to see what everyone's talking about, Satya Nadella, our new CEO, and Dynamics CRM. Since I am a Dynamics CRM product manager, I want to kind of drill deeper into this, see what people are saying about Dynamics CRM. You'll also notice up here buzz. So these are all the conversations happening in the context of the voices, in the context of all these campaigns. And here's the trend. What is the trend? Is it up or down regarding those conversations?
You're in the browser here, so this is not a rich app, a rich client app. You can get access to this through any browser.
Any browser. You'll notice I have Google as well as I have Internet Explorer. I can have it available through Firefox, Safari, does not matter. Microsoft believes of democratizing data based on whatever client you want to use. So absolutely can.
Interesting.
Okay, so now what I want to do is really look at my campaigns last month. So I have an opportunity of looking at today, last week, create my own custom template, etc. So this is the data regarding last month. I'm going to drill down into dynamic CRM. I click, it tells me a summary of the sentiment happening within CRM from a timeline perspective. So here is my 10,000 posts, 324 per day. You'll notice on average, sentiment is trending higher, moving upward, and it's overall 5% of the full conversations that are taking place. And then I have a sentiment of 8. Now, sentiment is divided into 3 categories. 10 is super preferable. 10 means you're doing all great stuff you need to as a marketer. Minus 10 is poor, and 0 is neutral. So anything above a 5 is fantastic. I'm doing great. 8 is the sentiment. Now I want to see a history of how my number of posts over a time frame. It tells me exactly when my peak moments were and my dull moments were. So if I wanted to, I can actually drill down. Anytime you see this hand, this is not. I can actually drill down into the data. But I think what I want to show you is this. Pretty pictures are very important for our presentations. We try to convince others. So I can actually download this image in any way I like. So now it tells me by source summary, the conversations happening in Twitter, Facebook, and as a marketer, this is important to me. Say your intent was to have that campaign launch on Facebook, but you're seeing all the activity in Twitter. You can actually drill down and determine why that is. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I want to see what's happening in Twitter. So click on it. It gives me the details related to Twitter. So here is all the conversations happening in Twitter. There's about 9,000 posts. Sentiment is pretty high, and it's trending higher, and these are all of my authors. I want to see who those authors really are, because we like influencers, people who are talking about us, who have great clout in social media. We want to see what they're talking about us. So I'll notice there are top 5 authors. I can drill down into this and see what type of conversation this author is having. So you'll notice I have 158 posts. Conversations are pretty high. My sentiment is pretty high. And if I wanted to, I can actually drill down into each of the posts. So let's actually drill down into a post and see what she's talking about.
It's almost like going down the rabbit hole. You can really drill into it.
Yes, especially since this is all about, if a customer is unhappy, you need to know why they're unhappy so you can manage those sentiments. So here are some of the conversations that are taking place. And if I notice that one of these are really a negative or a positive, I can actually curate this particular experience so that I get the right data.
Now, one question I have for you, and if I think back to that personal example again of the Office for iPad launch and monitoring Twitter and the sentiment, that was a global announcement. We had people tweeting from around the globe in a multitude of different languages. So figuring out what people were saying was so. Rick has asked us a question, around, and he says we run campaigns in multiple languages. There's the campaign question from what you were just showing us earlier, and then here's the sentiment piece around how we do multiple languages.
That's a great question. So Dynamics, Microsoft Social Listening supports 21 different languages, and we do native language sentiment analysis. A lot of our competitors usually translate. So if it's Spanish, they translate to English, and that translation, we lose a lot of that translation. For the Dynamics, Microsoft Social Listening is native language sentiment analysis. So absolutely 21 languages. Yeah, great. So really, it brought me to the end of my demo. So I hope you can see how, as a campaign manager, as a marketer, you now have a holistic view of your campaign. You can, whether it is within Dynamics CRM, whether it's Dynamics marketing, or within social listening, you get that rich data, and you're basically democratizing that data across all marketers and all channels.
Now, first things first, help me understand, the difference. You've talked about different feature areas, but sometimes at Microsoft we're guilty of having lots of different product names and whatnot.
Yes.
There's the Dynamics sort of family banner, and then there's the marketing and the CRM. How do they relate together? How should people go and learn about them?
That's great. A great question. So if you think of Dynamics marketing is where you send a marketer, a full-time marketer, spend 365 days out of the year. This is the functional tool for marketing. This would be your marketing department in a box. So everything from managing your budget, managing your campaigns, managing your jobs, managing your scheduling, managing every channel, media, assets, all of that happens in Dynamics marketing. CRM is for salespeople. This is where sales would spend 365 days out of the year, when we manage their opportunities, their price lists, price items, competitors, that's where. they all talk to each other. Microsoft believes in that integration story. So when marketing generates a lead, that lead gets passed to CRM, and in CRM it converts to an opportunity to sale. That information then comes back into Dynamics marketing. So now you know what that return on marketing investment is.
Fulfilling that cycle.
Exactly.
Now, one of the things we talked about was I noticed that the trend or sentiment analysis was running in the browser. Now, I'm sitting here with the Surface and the browser is fine, but when I'm on my phone, the mobile browser, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It's quite nice to have an app. How do we think about different types of form factors getting this information?
Great question. So you have to think about how we utilize it, right? Sentiment analysis, say you're in sales, you want to see the sentiment analysis on the mobile app, it's coming in the roadmap. So from a roadmap perspective, we do have a story. At the moment, we are in the process of really landing this product in this time frame, but over a period of next 9 months, we should actually start to see more products available on the app.
So that's an interesting question because we're sitting here in this sales and marketing track, and I think there's an eagerness amongst sales and marketing professionals for whether it's the next great thing or they just need stuff now. Whereas earlier on we were talking the technology track, and sometimes technologists are plan for, they want to know the roadmap, all those sort of bits and pieces. How do you balance those two things, and how is Dynamics approaching a roadmap and communications and a cadence of?
Great question. So if you take Dynamics CRM, which is for sales, we have a great story regarding mobility for sales reps. So we have a mobile app available that's for your Android, for your iPhone, for your Windows device. Again, yes, exactly. So we have a great mobile app that's available. For marketers, for Dynamics marketing, it's coming. I think what we want to do is really launch this product so that that campaign automation is the key product that we want to take to market. It's coming in the next 6 to 9 months. But at the moment, we're prioritizing really getting that sales app to the sales professional.
Now, help me understand, some of this was technology that they applied to come through.
Yeah.
Which you break that down.
So this product is called Dynamics Marketing. Great and how to put this product, and now rebranded as Dynamics Marketing.
It's interesting, Microsoft as a whole has always done a lot of mergers and acquisitions, from the blockbuster that is, the Skype acquisition through to Yammer. But it really seems that the Dynamics organization is growing also organically, but then also making these acquisitions. Is that fair to say?
That's exactly right. We not only acquired, I don't know if you mentioned Laura earlier, we acquired Parature, which is customer service. We really believe the next pivot for Microsoft is around business applications. Dynamics CRM, customer service, marketing. These are crucial areas within our organization that we want to drive marketing. We want to drive Microsoft solutions too. So you will see Dynamics is growing considerably.
Yeah. So Scott from New York asked an interesting question, given that you mentioned Parature, and he was wondering, is Parature part of social listening, or how does it fit into the?
Great question. So at the present time, so we acquired Parature some 4 months ago, I believe. At the moment, the intent in the roadmap is to have them integrate. So you will actually see social listening components in Parature. But Parature comes with their own social listening components, but you would have these components here. You'll actually start to see social listening components in Dynamics CRM. You'll start to see social listening components in Dynamics Marketing. So all of the sentiment will be across multiple products.
Now, that raises a really interesting question for me, which is around, best of breed versus a sort of platform approach. And when I think about, marketing analysis, campaign planning, sentiment analysis, there are so many sort of third-party little tools and apps that you can use that have all these different widgets and bells and buttons. What's your advice to customers as they think about, making investments in point solutions that do social listening really, really well, but maybe don't integrate back into campaign planning or CRM, versus thinking about platform?
Yeah, Ethan mentioned this earlier, which is everything, take Microsoft, for example, all of the different product teams live in silos. What we want to do is break those silos so that data can flow and you can make business decisions in real time. So if you are a community manager, so social media manager, and you're sitting in your cubicle making decisions about your organization, you want to be able to collaborate with others in marketing, and others in customer service, others in sales, so that they know the image of your product. So my feedback or my feedback to customers would be think about taking that silo away. Think about democratizing data across multiple channels. Open up that communication and collaboration so that customer experience we talked about earlier is consistent so that you can really live up to that brand promise you initially made.
That makes sense. One of the second videos that Ethan showed, which is sort of the day in the life, Yammer was really part of the conversation that he was having with his team of colleagues.
Yes.
And I know that from the conversations we've been having today that Yammer really is designed for Microsoft to be that sort of that social fabric. How do you see Yammer coming in and helping with these different scenarios that you showed?
Yeah, we have seen the roadmap, and Yammer will be everywhere. So whether it is going to be Dynamics Marketing, Dynamics CRM, social listening, that conversation will be a fabric of Microsoft products. So it's coming. It's in the roadmap.
Awesome. Well, we asked a poll at the start of the session, and I know in a couple of minutes, or my final question for you, I'd like to come back to that and share how many different marketing tools people are using. So this is your last chance to take that poll, and then we'll come and give you those answers. But one of the questions I've been asking people is, what is your advice to getting going? How do you get started, whether it's information and programs or from a technology perspective?
Yeah. First question I'd ask yourself is, how many different silos do you use today? If you say 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, determine what is that impact on revenue. Determine what's that impact on the customer experience and brand promise. And once you have done that, look at your platform. Are you a Microsoft shop? Do you have a Microsoft platform at heart? Right? Because once you are a Microsoft platform and you're committed to that platform, these solutions are pretty easy. So that IT plus marketing conversation is a lot easier to have if your platform is on Microsoft.
All right, well, why don't we check out that poll results? So I think we can bring up that poll screen, and we'll fill in the results. So if you remember, how many marketing tools do you interact with in your typical day? And I feel like the price is right now. The answer is, let's have a quick look here. Not too many, actually, so that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. So my recommendation between 0 to 3 is to really figure out what is it that you're using and what is the budget for each one of those items. If you're spending lots of budget on 1 or 2 of those point solutions, determine how we can consolidate and make better return on investment.
That's the best of breed versus platform.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, Zakir, thanks so much for coming and joining us on the show today.
Thanks, Alex.
That concludes our online presentations today. Thank you so much for joining us for the live stream. If you want to come back and check out content at a later date, or if you missed any portion of our show, not to worry. All of these great live sessions will be available on demand. Now is the perfect time to click the survey tile. Your feedback is incredibly important to us as we create future online events like this one. And you can still win one of those $100 e-vouchers. Simply fill out the survey for your chance to win. On behalf of all of our guests and all of us here at Microsoft, thank you so much for watching.